insurance, security plan, whatever it might be.
Technically, that's not what our.
I know what I think right now.
Yeah,
But I think that's something that we should look
What
at.
about family?
I was getting ready to ask like that, what follows.
Because
Yeah.
this whole.
Somebody got a bartender license.
No, okay, let's take the whole bartender thing out. What about bringing the alcohol into the, but where do we draw?
Yeah, well, and that's fine. But
That's
but the interpretation of paragraph 2, universally been wrong across these. So
Yes.
that's what I was trying to get through. Is if you want to make stuff talking about it, just so we're all on the same page, that nobody.
They have to get a lot of steer truck right inside the building.
Paragraph would be back.
They have to have.
Well, yeah.
Still have them in.
The temporary vendor house, that part versus or their vendor requirement. Just like any other request to use facility.
Yeah.
Your guys' stuff. You can't figure out. You can't stop them from getting a permit. Or if that's what you're really. Whether or not that's what you want, I don't know. Like, is it possible?
Get it figured out. There are Title VI forms on the back table. If you care to fill one of those out, turn it in at the auditor's office. If you'll all stand, I'm gonna ask the sheriff, lead some pledge, followed by prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lead some prayer.
I probably want to come to you tonight to give you thanks for the many blessings that you've given to this county. How you blessed us, Father, with prosperity and blessed us with good leaders. Stepped up time and again over many years. We ask tonight, Lord, that you help each one as they're making decisions in this business meeting. Help them, Father, to do things that are good for everyone in the county, as we're all neighbors. Help us to treat one another in such a way. We give you thanks and we pray it in Jesus' name. Amen. Steve.
And I'd like everyone to, if they would please remember Linda Smith in the prayers. Merrill's widow, Merrill's lost, gonna leave a big hole in Decatur County. And while they were at the funeral, I guess someone broke in her house. And Gary Jackson, his wife's visitation this evening in Westport, and he said he did have somebody watching his house. And they had that fear happening.
Just a clarification, it wasn't.
Oh, was it?
It was next.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the first.
But anyway, it's just not a good thing.
No, no.
So you've all seen the minutes? Any changes, corrections, or additions?
It's stated that I seconded the motion through the special session. But I did not. I don't think.
Yeah, Mark, I had made the motion to approve the meetings from the special session, and Mark had either seconded or Nikki had seconded that motion. I think Tony was silent on that since he was not here.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
I didn't see it. I moved to approve the meetings from May 20th, 2024.
A second.
Claims.
I didn't have any questions.
And we had some questions. We got them answered. One thing at dispatch, there's a $347 logo mat from Centos. Just question why we were paying all that extra for a logo mat dispatch when nobody's there but employees.
Right. I don't handle the claims, that would be Erica, but I can have
Ask
her
that
get
question.
clarification
Yeah.
for you.
I know that they got one, and I know that Centos people all work on commission, and they buried Todd Houck at the highway department and all kinds of new stuff. And
I
slowly
know we've
whittling
had that map since the beginning. So I don't know if maybe it was a replacement possibly, but we can get clarification.
Okay.
Questions I had earlier, I had answered. I move to approve the claims.
Concur. Payroll of May 24th. $356,159.23.
I noticed we still don't have any invitations for anybody to work from home.
There weren't any time sheets
Weren't reported.
weren't reported.
I do believe we have people working from home.
We just sent that email out. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so. Okay, just make sure I didn't miss it or it was. that I did.
Motion approved.
So made.
Second.
Highway Department, Todd is on vacation, so he gave me his report. Talked very long. They've been working on bridge maintenance, bushwhacking, radius improvement at intersection 550 south and 450 west, patching along 421 north, and some sign maintenance, spraying roadsides and bridge guardrails. Fuel and community crossing grant going to be due our next meeting, June 17th. And they have completed the letter of intent RFP for Bridge 141 located out on County Road 1000 West. That company will be Bean Longston Neff, working on the contract. And all head from Tom. Kenny.
Oh, and we forgot to mention, we've been having some issues or some concerns about people that are watching the feed from home, either live or later on YouTube, on Facebook. And we had been asked to talk closer to the mic as the commissioners. If there's anybody that wants to address the commissioners or anybody else, we'll ask you to go ahead and proceed with the podium like Kenny is now, so that the equipment, the microphones can actually pick up everybody what they're saying.
Ready to begin.
Good evening, gentlemen. Since our last meeting, I had 30 building inspections, 10 new building permits and plan reviews, had 3 permit renewals. I received a complaint about someone building a shed without a permit. I called the property owner, as he recently had a permit for an electrical upgrade, so I asked him. He informed me that he is not building anything. He did have a new 6x6 building there on runners, which does not require a building. He is in the process of demolishing a house because the one that he got the electrical upgrade for, because it was so bad with termite damage that it's not worth fixing. He also complained to me about his neighbor dumping water, possibly sewage, right into the river. So I called the health department and gave them all the information I had on that. They were going to check that out.
I have sent letters to 24 different properties for cleanup or removal. I have only had one person respond. He has already filled one dumpster and getting another one. And he will keep working on both properties as he was sent 2 letters. Hopefully I'll get some information back. I just sent letters last Friday to 13 of them, so that's probably what I'm heard. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny.
Mr. Smith.
Before Chad gets started, I've been kind of going back and forth with him over the ordinance on the alcohol ban, and had some questions about what properties we can enforce the ordinance on versus what we own and don't own. How to mediate that in the ordinance if it does get passed, and liabilities with that. So there's still some pretty big hanging questions out there for this ordinance that I have. But go ahead.
Well, so at the last meeting, we had first reading of this, various feedbacks and discussions. My recommendation to you all been that we take a look at this, talk about proposed amendments, make some changes and account for things of that nature, and then put it down the road, final reading and vote next meeting. That being said, I think some of the biggest issues are the notion of whether it should be purely ownership and control, and then what that means, how this runs, given the layers of use parks and rec to private owned property that is apparently parks and other townships. So you're getting static, I guess, from the notion of control because of the layer in between commissioners and parks and rec that isn't necessarily your control, so to speak. So one issue to consider is how to address that verbiage in the ordinance. And then there's been a lot of discussion about paragraph 2, which is being wildly misinterpreted from everything that I've seen so far by everybody that has commented on it pretty much. The purpose and intention of that paragraph is because under the city DORA ordinance, as well as the state statute creates it, it's an avenue, temporary vendor designation, and have to designate certain spots that be open for these designations. One of those being Board of Commissioners property out at park grounds. And so the very first sentence, paragraph 2 specifically refers to that this only applies to requests for temporary vendor designations for an event or festival held within a DORA, which requires several layers for somebody to get that designation. One being state approval, and then 2, if and when that is granted, then come to you guys under the premise of a request for use of your facilities for you to allow or not allow. And that's a prerequisite before they can even get to you guys to follow the DORA statute. So that's the purpose of paragraph 2, not the discussions of grandma's party at the park or reunions. The unofficial position of the county has always been that it's not allowed. It's merely codifies that into a writing, put to a implied oral condition that kind of happened. So never been allowed, and it isn't allowed under paragraph 2. If you guys want something to allow that, then we'll need to change that language. That is not the intention of this time. This was proposed originally as a complete ban to the extent we're able to outside of the specifics of it. So you're going to put something else in there, then make that change as well.
And the only other thing we talked about was that if there was a DORA approved vendor at an adjacent property to one of to Rebecca Park specifically, even with this ordinance in place, they could utilize that park with door approved beverages, even with ordinance.
Yes. We cannot override the state statute, so if you were in a hypothetical scenario to deny a temporary vendor and the city grants them permission to plop it right down in the middle of Central Avenue, they can then buy their drink and walk into the park just as they could on any other day under the door designation.
With that, I would make a motion that we table this until next week, have some more discussions.
Well, I think that we can definitely address some of those concerns. Because from where I sit, I look at this and I want to make sure that we're providing a place that is a safe venue for children to play. Especially when you're talking about Rebecca Park, with the improvements that have been made out there, the number of people that are utilizing those facilities. I think that we need to have an all-inclusive facility for everybody to be able to go out and enjoy that facility. I don't sit here and think that we should wait for necessarily the bad thing to happen before we react. If we can do the minimum possible to try to provide a good venue for all sorts of different people, it's an inclusion park. I think it should be inclusive to everybody. People that want to consume alcohol, we can provide a way through DORA for special events. People that don't want to or don't believe in having their children around the consumption of alcohol, I think that we should provide something, a way that we can help them be able to use a facility that their tax dollars have also helped fund. So I think we need to look at something here. I've reached out to a number of people from all different backgrounds during this. I've had 2 people tell me that they don't want the ordinance, and everybody else has said that if there's a way that you can actually have events and that are legitimate events with whether it's bartenders, which I think we would have to have in a circumstance like this, and a security plan, then that's okay. But reopen alcohol is a concern from a number of different people that I had talked to, both people that I reached out to and people that contacted me. So I'm 100% on board with putting this off for another day so that we can address some of these things. But I do still want to be able to provide avenues in which we have times and places for people to not have to be around this if that's not what they want. I'm not opposed to alcohol. I drink alcohol, but I think there's a time and place
I would agree with Jeremy. I think the common everyday park things should be alcohol there. They want to come to commissioners and special event. Go through that process and we can look at them individually and go through them at a time. So I'm okay with this thing down the road. It's more thought there. I think we need to do it right.
Is tabling the right verbiage, or do we have to?
I think we would not be tabling it. We would be asking it to the next meeting for proposed amendments. That way we continue on to our second reading with the new amendments. And just to clarify, one of those amendments you guys are looking to see a provision that would allow for a catch-all function that would be allowed within any park pursuant to your guys' special request and permission, or limiting the only potential option to something that is already created by the DORA. I think that's one distinction that's new to tonight that probably needs clarification from you guys on which way you want to go.
Well, Teresa, the policy of parks has always been that there's no alcohol at any of the parks.
If people call the reserve shelters, the armory, whatever, we have always told them alcohol is not allowed in the parks or in the park facilities. It's been a verbal thing only.
Have there, and this was the question I had from a number of people, and I have to ask or some of those folks that I talked to, have there been incidents that you're aware of where things happen?
Not
Where
to my knowledge,
you
really,
or
honestly.
Anybody else?
I've not been called out for a alcohol related, situation personally, and even before I took over, I don't recall that happening. I will say, there's, like I said before, there's alcohol in the parks. We find cans, we find bottles. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's not there. It's just not created a situation that warranted action that I can recall.
How many years have you been with Parks?
39 and a half.
Not fair. I know. She'll revisit me that later, but it goes for conversation, 39 years.
Where, and also, where are you finding it? Like, are you finding it at the pavilions? Are you, where?
Oh. In the trash cans, like when they empty trash cans around the park, or, let's face it, right now, we have an ongoing situation, or we knock on wood, not right at the moment, but where we had the little alcohol bottles being flushed down the toilets of the complex to the effect that we had to, rotor out and pull all the toilets and clean them out.
So at the little.
Yeah, that's at the youth sports complex, so, and they're in the bathroom, so I can't monitor them with, cameras or things of that nature. So there's evidence around, but nothing to the point that I can recall. And in 39 and a half years, I probably don't remember everything, but I don't recall any major issues.
Is there one park that you think stands up above the others for when you're seeing the alcohol present, whether it's the trash cans or anywhere?
Well, probably the majority of the situation would probably, over the years, would be what we call the county park. Some call it the city park, the big park out there, just because that's where our shelters are that we rent. We haven't started renting shelters at Rebecca yet. We only have 2, and you need 20, to keep up with the calls we're getting. But I would say the most, and it's not like a whole trash can full. I'm not saying that at all. It's just we see remnants in trash cans. But
Sheriff, while you're sitting here, before you have to head to another meeting, have you had any issues or anything like that over the years? You've been a law enforcement officer for a long time in this community. And so have there been any issues that you either know of or you've had to address?
Without doing any research, I don't recall any of the form I did.
And I know just,
I do have a question for Chad on that.
Yep.
Your scenario of city playing one in the middle of Central Avenue, and taking their alcohol into the Decatur Park. I understand the door, but can't be wrong. They have to buy their alcohol at one of the 3 bars here in special colored cups. Putting the bar in the middle of Central Avenue. Look at that.
Yeah, so the DORA allows for a temporary vendor
Okay.
set up anywhere within the DORA. And the city went further to designate temporary vendor sites as shaded by large areas of ground. That includes Rebecca Park, but under that scenario, the same DORA designated containers could be sold on city property just outside of our park and still be under the freshman area function at.
So if Pirate Park had a vendor at it that was selling alcohol, 2 cups all over Rebecca Park, go to conference areas, sitting included in parking, there would be no enforcement. As a state law trumps it.
yes, Teresa.
I guess to clarify your question, when you asked me which parks, the other park, no doubt, would be Kohler Park. I was thinking in terms of reunions and events, so, I'm sure there's been remnants out there as well. But
And I would say that in some of the conversations I've had, things always change. So like with finding the bottles of the Little League Park, I was given an example. Some of the AAU basketball tournaments are now selling alcohol at these events as well. And that's a huge change from when, I played AAU basketball. That was something that was never going on. And so I think it is something that's becoming more widely accepted at some of these events that, never were those kinds of events. And something all these folks, I appreciate that. And it's a change in, I guess, perspective, change in experience from what I've had as well.
And that's my thing. It's the parks are used in such a diverse manner. They're not just playgrounds. They're adult areas. They're reunions. They're pavilions. They're ball games. They're adult softball. So the basis of the ordinance is to keep the alcohol away from the kids, but there's a lot of park area that doesn't have any kids around.
Right.
Or it doesn't have a playground adjacent to it. So how do we balance that with all of the people that are being served? And then again, liability and what are we gonna do in Milford, which is a privately owned property that's operated by.
And I guess one question that my staff has had, or we talked about, is how would this be monitored or enforced, or, I mean, what would it, if I get a phone call every hour on the hour, how would it be handled? That's,
It's a law enforcement ordinance, so we need to be sent to law enforcement for them to investigate.
My view would be that it would be like any other law that's on the books in the state of Indiana. Their law enforcement officer sees it happening, or somebody reports it, see a drunk driver on the road, and you call it in.
I'll make a motion, we discuss this at the next central administration.
I second that motion.
Concur. Sean or?
I'm gonna talk fast, so Mark can become this way.
There you go.
Than what we're doing here.
Okay, Alicia had brought you guys a draft of a proposed ordinance for food and bed and breakfast establishments last month. And I guess I have some questions on procedure. I was hoping we could get that passed tonight. Is that possible? Have we done all of the steps leading to passage? I guess would be my first question. Or is there another step in there that has to happen? I may be wasting your time completely, and then you'll be mad.
There is substantial penalty attached to it,
To
to a violation.
a violation of letting Mark be late for his anniversary dinner, only from his.
Inspection.
Oh, no, the
Special
penalties
point
have not
is-
changed. The only thing that changed on it had are, we are going from a 2 times per year inspection to a risk-based inspection. There's no other language that's changed in the ordinance. The reason for that is part of the Health First Indiana plan. We are required to go to risk-based inspections.
Then pass a unanimous vote, they can pass the first reading.
Then I guess I'm asking if you would consider it. I have copies. Yeah.
I'd like to refresh. I remember reading over it last time that we discussed it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, good.
but it is, again, the only change.
No,
There was no changes to the offense section.
That's correct. The only thing that changed is wording from inspections twice per year to risk-based. That was worded. And risk-based, just to explain, those are, I mean, obviously based on risk, so you know what the risks are. We look at the menu type, so if it's a very complicated menu that is required, that baking ahead of time and reheating is required. That's a complicated process that adds more risk to the process, more chance for people to get sick. Also, the convenience store that has roller grills is obviously a lower risk than a full service restaurant. So full service restaurants would go up in inspections, and the lower risk may go down. Doesn't say they have to.
Plus past performance.
Plus past performance, that's correct. So it would be based on some of the previous violations to the greatest risk level.
I make a motion to approve.
I don't have an issue with it. I second the motion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Happy anniversary.
You. Next, that's policy changes. And
I believe we discussed these at the last meeting, went over them. We sent them out to all of the Decatur County employees for review, feedback. I have not received any feedback from anyone. I don't know about you guys.
I haven't received anything.
The only thing I heard was when this takes place. Question I got.
Anybody here to provide feedback? I would make a motion that we approve the changes to the policies for firearms to include HR and the chain command, complaint procedures for departments with non-elected officials and sexual harassment.
I second the motion to approve both new and both policies.
And I would concur with that. Under topics, safe streets for all.
I spoke with ARPA, explained to them what Safe Streets for All were. We have table discussion, going to get a final cash balance for what we have at ARPA. And should have our next meetings the third week of June, so I should have some July on whether or not they want to.
Okay, I know that was the only reason that we were here for the topic tonight was to see what our was going to cover the commissioner for the county's portion of
35,
that.
35,000.
And so we can put that off and put it on the, you want to do the first meeting in July? First meeting in July on the agenda there?
Yes.
Okay, request for use. Three of them. YMCA wants to have the Tree City rolling tour and century bicycle ride. Be on the northeast corner of the square on June 29th. That's a Saturday from 5:30 a.m. 5 p.m. They'll set up a tent and have some tables and chairs. I think that's just where the riders check in before they go. And does that finish up also? Yeah. Insurance certificate is provided. I think they've done that a time or two. So I'm in around.
I make a motion to go ahead and approve the use of facilities for the YMCA bike tour.
I'll second.
Second, friends of the animal shelter want to use, want to have parking lot next to Links on August 31st, also a Saturday from 4 p.m. 9 p.m. Their insurance certificate is also present. Chris, you want to tell me a little bit about what's
So what we're doing is that's where we're gonna end our Jeep ride at. All of the food, all of the music and drinking, all that will still be on the property of Links. We just need a designated spot to park people. We say 4 o'clock, however, it's gonna be probably closer to 5 when we actually roll in to start parking. I have also spoke to the vision office back here, Dr. Weigel. I spoke to him as well, so if there's overflow, really,
Franklin Street should be finished by now.
oh, okay.
It should be done.
So just getting approval for that. I mean, there's not really gonna be anything done except for parking on that area.
Make a motion.
I second the motion.
Last one is Eagles Wings, the 5K run and walk. And that is Saturday, August 24th. Week before. Animal shelters thing. They're requesting closure of Millhausen Road, Sebo Lane, just like it's always been. Patty, how many years this? Been 10? So it's, and they're very good. Highway Department works with them, sets up barricade, and a map.
They do want someone that shares.
Make a motion to approve.
I second the motion.
Oh. Oh, I had, you guys got anything?
I encourage anybody that has any thoughts on this alcohol ordinance to go ahead and just reach out to us. I know all of our numbers are on the county website. Uh, We get enough phone calls for something like this that does have an effect over such a broad spectrum. But we want to make sure that we do the right thing. So give us a call, shoot us an email, whatever it might be.
I did have a pool meeting with HWC. Brian was there. We will need to make a decision at our next commissioner meeting on the dollar amount that we are going to seek to move forward on that project because of ready money needs to be committed August. So
Commissioners need to decide the dollar
our
amount.
commissioners told decide the dollar amount on what we intend to spend. It's a county owned property and it's the commissioner's decision.
Do the council members have an idea, their budget perspective on what can be afforded by the county?
I'm told by the council, 4 members in the last couple of days, their number is $4 million to repair up there at the pool. So
So we're talking about a repair, we're talking about a new pool.
that's coming from,
So we went from 6 million to 4 million now.
And this may happen on this. On when did the discussions fire up about repairing the existing facility?
just came about when I got phone calls the last few days. When we were at that meeting, we were thinking 6 to 6.5 million. On what day was that? Last Wednesday or Thursday? HWC brought back, that was everything, all the amenities that they were looking for, except the lazy river, correct? Was around $6 million.
Yeah, and then a couple slides and stuff that were made for to add on.
And Brian, the ready money had been appropriate, had been promised to the county based on renderings for a new pool facility.
Yeah.
The money is still eligible to be used by the county for a refurbishment project.
That I've got to take back to the end as far as the ARPA funds too, my understanding. For replacement, I'm personally, I'm not sure how we could repair that out there without doing some significant, reconstruction of it.
Right.
We kind of looked into that. That's why I'm a little surprised you're asking.
Well, if we're gonna be voting on a number, I need to see information prior to a meeting for how we want to repair, what exactly it means. And then also, Danny, if you guys could, excuse me, if you could get us some information about where the money is gonna be coming from. Just because I want to make sure that we're making a decision that's fiscally responsible, that we might have it, but if we're having to drain a certain fund to be able to do it when we need that money to repair a roof or something like that, a building, I want to make sure that we're making the right decision. So if you guys could just outline kind of where it is that we're getting that money, or if you're going to discuss it at your meeting tomorrow, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with.
We'll have a meeting tomorrow.
I'm exceptionally disappointed in this. We had special sessions, we had multiple conversations, and I was specifically told by council that we didn't need to worry about the money. So I dropped it. I let it go. We didn't talk about the money for the last 4 months. And now we have to make a decision in 2 weeks on how much money the commissioners are going to spend without having information from the council on what we can. We had 2 special sessions and multiple conversations on this. When I asked about how much we could afford and what the budget would be, I got told not to worry about it. So now it's back on the commissioners 3 months later, but we have to figure out where the money's coming from. That's exceptionally disappointing to be told that in a public meeting and then get it put on our plate. and tell us we have 2 weeks figured out. So,
I don't think we have to figure out where it comes from, it's how much we are willing to spend.
and to do that, I need to know what we can afford. Which was the purpose of all the conversations we had in December and January. That never gave us any real numbers.
Well, I'm part of that Reading team, and I know that the money has to be, we have to get this ball rolling. That's right, wrong, or indifferent. We gotta come up with a number, and that was presented to us the other day. I felt comfortable with that number that they sent us. We can get you those drawings.
I think more should you see more itemized list of costs there because of some savings there that we haven't gotten that yet, but yeah.
I might add too, that I was in contact with HWC and RL Turner today. They asked me to set up a meeting again next week with council members and commissioners and pool committee members, just like we did in April when we had our initial meeting. They want to bring that back next week and meet with those groups. I'm waiting on a couple dates to pick from, but to bring us up to date on where they are prior to your next meeting or the council meeting, so that people would have a better understanding. So I look for that maybe to be set tomorrow, which I will email you. Again, only 2 of you, one can attend each meeting, and last time Tony was the alternate and Deanna was the alternate from the council to make sure that we complied with open door policy. So I'll be sending that out again just as soon as they give it to me, but they did reach out. Both of them did reach out to me this morning.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Oral Turner or HWC was told that we could afford a $5 to $6 million pool, and that's what they designed, correct?
I'm assuming that that's what they were, I think they were going for 6, but yeah.
And that's what came from council, was that we could afford a $6 million pool, and they built to that.
I think that's what they told them to do a design for, was the 5 to 6 million, but I haven't seen anything from their design yet. I just know that they want to present it next week before your next meeting.
So we'll be looking for that meeting coming here shortly. Also have the highway department cleared putting in the new road, the track entrance. There were logs cut and bought by Swearing Sawmill. Just wanted to report that that netted the fairgrounds $7,228. Fairgrounds account. What was thought to be scrap logs, but they were costing nice money. Anything else?
Yes, Brian.
You said over the road use agreement. Because you guys referenced in the last meeting that you got.
Yeah, it was, but they did not get back with us. Is that correct?
We got it Friday afternoon. Before we got back, was not sent. So, I mean, to me, we're still in negotiations because they struck 2 provisions on edits that I had made. So, and our highway guys are gone. So, we really haven't had a chance to talk about the new edits and changes.
Yeah, we're still reviewing because what we sent in came back changed.
Okay,
And
I was not aware.
And not highlighted that they were changed. Now we have to review the thing word for word to see what they may or may not have.
They had taken out some provisions.
Yeah.
That we changed, so not sure where that's gonna end up at. I know the changes that we made were changes that I wanted to see, protect the county and protect our infrastructure during the construction and future demolition if it were to occur. So, yeah, we have some.
Anything else? Motion to recess.
So moved.
We are, yeah. Thank you all.